What's up, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Scythe, and yes, we are finally back again to be talking about all this Gamigo nonsense. So I know I kind of ended up going dark on all of this, but most of all that's just because before we get started with this video, I do want to mention that pretty much the exact same thing that I mentioned last time is what we're waiting for. It's all up in the air, and you gotta just wait and not get into any of the hype train and stuff like that. I've actually seen quite a few of you guys mentioning in the comments that Gamigo is abandoning the game, and you know that they only ended up purchasing Trion Worlds so that they could get assets to some Marvel game on the phone and stuff like that. And I don't know where you guys are getting your facts, because they're wrong. Nowhere does it actually state any of this stuff, and we actually do have an official statement from Gamigo talking about all this Trion Worlds stuff, and it's looking pretty solid that Trove is going to end up having a future. But what's going to end up actually happening as far as updates are concerned is something we're going to have to wait until this Friday, because yes, that's right, the developers, or at least Fasty, has confirmed that they are going to end up having a developer live stream this Friday, their usual time, 12 p.m. Pacific time, or 12:30 or something like that. Either way, I'm going to try and catch that, if not live stream myself, just watching their live stream so we can have a proper reaction to it. And either way, I'm hoping that they're going to end up answering a lot of our questions and stuff that we're very worried about. I find it very strange that Fasty's just tweeting away about like Cat Day and all of this stuff, but not actually making any statements towards all of the things that we're also concerned about. But that's where we're more than likely going to hear it from the devs themselves. So I just wanted to say that and get that out of the way, that the devs are still alive. We just don't know how many of them actually are still working on Trove. Now, before we get started with all that, I'm not using a face cam. I feel a little bit sick, sorry to say. Hopefully I'm going to end up being better pretty soon. Most of all, it's just because I gotta rush these videos out, right? But then on top of that, I would appreciate if you guys would like the video. You know, the support helps me out greatly, but it also ends up helping these videos show up in searches so that people can end up getting the right information. So we've got a statement here from Gamigo. This is a little bit old. It was actually stated on the 23rd of October, but only now was I able to actually find this. I want to give a shout out to my man Trix, because he ended up actually giving me a lot of these links, or at least this main one right here, where it's Gamigo's official statement. Now, we're not going to go through the entire process of reading their very business response, you know, because Gamigo, as we ended up mentioning in my other video, is a business. They're focused on making a profit. They're focused on making money, and that's where you don't really have to worry too much about Trove, because Trove was pretty much Trion Worlds' most successful game. So it just remains, you know, it's just obvious that Gamigo is going to end up continuing to develop Trove, you know, or at least keeping the servers online for a couple years, to say the least, right? So anyways, I will put links in the description to all this stuff. The official statement, they say, is, well, first of all, they ended up making an assignment for the benefit of the creators, which this process means that the buyers, Gamigo, only buys assets with which they wish to continue the business of. Meaning that they ended up buying all of the IPs and all of the games from Trion Worlds so that they could end up continuing ArcAge, Rift, and Trove and all of these different games, because they see it as something lucrative. I don't know necessarily about the other games, but Gamigo's official statement is pretty business, you know, it's very, it's not really a statement for most of us. I guess it's mostly just for the industry, but I'll read it to you anyways. The successful acquisition and subsequent integration of Trion into our portfolio, this is Gamigo, substantially strengthened Gamigo's position in the European and American gaming market. On the one hand, we add similar and successful brands and games to the already broad Gamigo portfolio, and on the other hand, we're looking to unlock substantial synergies with the group's existing business to further benefit from the remarkable growth potential that the gaming market offers. Oh my goodness gracious, like, does that even make any sense to you guys? Like, seriously, they could have just said we wanted to end up buying these games because it was going to end up being a good business decision for us, because we could end up becoming a better business. So there's another statement as well, let me see if I can find it, where they end up actually mentioning more specifically how they're actually looking to solidify themselves in the American market, more specifically so that they can end up getting more successful not only in the PC branch, but the console market, because Gamigo obviously doesn't really have that many of their games that are established on the console. Now, one could argue that they're talking about Defiance 2050, but honestly, Defiance 2050 was like, nobody wanted it. Like, just to give you guys a quick summary, Defiance 2050 was another game by Trion Worlds that was basically a third-person shooter. It actually wasn't too bad. It was very pay to win, and they ended up remaking the game that just added new graphics and completely like redid everyone's cash shop. So it was like it would be like them releasing Trove 2, and it would be the exact same game, different graphics, but we wouldn't carry anything over from playing Trove 1. Like, seriously. So then there's a couple other statements that I ended up finding online, which unfortunately I don't have any links to specifically solidify those, but there was actually hints and whispers within the gaming industry that Trion Worlds was very, very close to, if not on the brink of bankruptcy. So this obviously explains the reason why they would end up actually making this sale in the first place, and also means that we've got to, we got to actually look at Gamigo as a more positive, in a more positive light. Despite the fact that the gaming company is very similar to Trion Worlds, despite the fact that they don't really have any games that are, that immediately jump out at you or anything like that. They've had a lot of games that we've kind of heard about, these games that have come and gone, etc., etc. But the way that Gamigo designs games is very pay to win in the same aspect that Trove does. So some testimonials from some Gamigo employees mention RNG loot boxes that you buy out of the store, and how the employees were actually complaining about, saying that it was stupid, but Gamigo just keeps on doing it. And we kind of see that Trion Worlds has the exact same business model, and unfortunately has proven without a doubt that it is an unsuccessful business model in this day and age that doesn't really have that much longevity. Now, the reason why I say that we should be thanking Gamigo is because if it's true, if these rumors are true that Trion Worlds was actually on the brink of bankruptcy, then that would have not only been the end of Trove, it would have been the end of Arcade Rift and Defiance and everything all at once. If Trion Worlds went bankrupt, we wouldn't have a server for Trove. It would be offline, and that would be it. We're not like we're with Gamigo. We're more than likely going to end up seeing the U10 update come out. Maybe not on time. Maybe it's not going to come out this year. Don't quote me on that, because we still haven't heard anything official from the developers. Maybe they're still moving everything in a timely manner. Who knows? But a transitional period of this magnitude for Trion Worlds to end up migrating only a handful of their employees to the developer team of Trove means that it's probably not their top priority to get this update out immediately. More so, they need to start, getting a dev team rolling and getting all this stuff worked out. But my point being is that the U10 update is pretty much finished, as we've already seen with some of the more recent dev streams. From a couple weeks ago, it looked like it was pretty much done. All the core mechanics were there. There was just some stuff that they needed to fix with the UI and junk like that. And because of it, we're probably going to see this update slowly end up getting finished, and then eventually we're going to get it. Now, we don't know, what we definitely don't know about Trove is whether or not Gamigo sees Trove as enough of an investment to pour resources into, so that we could end up getting other updates in the future, like the Geode Phase 3 finished up, or a new class coming out next year, or even the class reworks to all of the existing characters. We don't know if that's going to ever end up happening, because what Gamigo is kind of known for, and what could very well possibly happen to Trove, is that we'll see the U10 update come out, and then after that, there will just be not enough resources to end up upgrading the game or adding anything more to it. And then it'll kind of turn into what the internet has called maintenance mode, meaning that the servers will pretty much just stay online while nothing's going to end up actually changing with the game. Now, on one hand, that's kind of what we're already used to with Trove, because the updates are very few and far in between. And even so, we had the improvements update that it completely broke the game, and we saw months of waiting before we ended up having these game fixes happen and stuff like that. And my point being is that I know a lot of you guys out there are, yanking your hair out thinking oh no, Trove will never have an update again. But it's is that really that much of a difference than what we're already come to expect with this game? And this is where I want to kind of end this video on a positive note, just by saying that, you know, it might sound a little bit too deep for just a cheap little video game like this, but not only has this game been good to me, but you guys have been good to me. And that's where I want to kind of make it my official statement, I guess, you know, for those of you that care. I'm not going to give up on Trove. I'm not going to quit this game. I'm going to be pleasantly optimistic that we are definitely going to see the U10 update. And you guys, like, seriously, that update is going to completely change the game, because just to, you know, make one point perfectly clear, Crystal Gear being an item that you can end up buying with Flux essentially makes Magic Find, and thus Dragons, which is a huge pay to win and time gated aspect of Trove, it makes all of that moot. It makes it all useless. Stellar Gear, of course, is going to end up having pearls for sure that you can end up using on your Crystal Gear. But this is a huge step in the right direction that I think the Trove developers completely stumbled on by accident. I don't know if this was on purpose. If it was, then it's great. But the fact that they end up completely making Magic Find useless with Crystal Gear means that Trove suddenly becomes way more approachable to a mass audience, you know? And more so than that, makes this game a lot less pay to win, because the only pay to win aspect of the game would end up, I mean, honestly, it would just be the gem system, which is something that we kind of expect in most video games these days. But anyways, my point being is I'm pleasantly optimistic, and through a lot of these statements that I've seen with Gamigo and you know, statements kind of being made a little bit more of the Trove devs and stuff like that, it seems like things are slowly but surely going to end up working out for the best. Again, the fact that Trion Worlds seemingly was so close to bankruptcy, that would have been a huge one. That would have actually just spelt the end of Trove. Like, straight up, guys. Their servers would not be online. So, you know, best case or worst case scenario, however you want to put it, I think that we'll see the U10 update. Don't know when. Don't know whether or not the test servers are going to come on either. I mean, who knows? The test servers might come on as soon as this week with the developer live stream. Maybe they'll end up just rushing the test server on so that we can try out all the U10 stuff. Wouldn't that be wonderful, right? But on top of that, you know, what we're probably going to see with Trove, and why you shouldn't be worried about this game dying, is at the least, the servers are going to end up being online for a couple more years. That's for sure. Now, if they don't end up updating the game, if Gamigo does not pour resources into updating this game, obviously it's going to become less relevant, and obviously it's going to become less popular until one day they would end up just shutting down the servers and stuff like that. But until then, we'll just have to wait and see what happens. So I just want to tell you guys, don't give into as much of the hype as I've seen. I've seen a lot of people in the comments kind of saying, you know, Trove is dead, it's confirmed, and Gamigo says that it's dead, and blah, 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 and all of this stuff about, like, Gamigo only bought Trion Worlds so that they could get the assets to a Marvel game on the phone and stuff like that. And it's like, I don't know where you guys are getting all this misinformation, because Gamigo has not made any statements like that. Or maybe it's just that I haven't found it. But honestly, you know, I've been kind of scouring the internet as much as I could so that I could end up giving you guys a little bit of a glimmer of hope, because I mean, I wanted to give you guys a more positive message, you know? And a lot of people can go ahead and argue that Trove is already dead, which technically, yeah, it's, you know, it's not really in its prime, and it's probably never going to end up seeing, you know, a bigger player base. You know, when U10 comes out, of course, that's going to end up bringing in a lot of people, but more so it's going to be bringing in, like, returning players rather than new players, even though I still do think that new players should definitely come around when U10 does. Now, either way, that's it for me, folks. Like I said, we're going to have to wait until this Friday's developer live stream so that we can end up actually hearing all of that stuff. Now, whether you guys end up tuning into their streams or not, you know I'm going to end up covering it and letting you guys know absolutely everything that I can. But until then, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, sub, hit that notification bell. And if you want to support me, you can always sponsor the YouTube channel with that join button down below. Or you can check out the link to my merch store, as well as Gawkbox is a way that you can donate to me for absolutely free by basically playing phone games for a couple minutes. Like, seriously, it's super duper easy. Now, on the other hand, if you guys are still kind of worried about Trove dying and not really interested in it, I'd recommend that you check out my MapleStory videos. It's another great free-to-play game that I feel goes hand in hand with Trove, despite the fact that I know some of you guys aren't into it. A lot of you are, and I'm really glad for that, because I actually really enjoy that game. I feel that it's right up there in Trove's league, if not way better than Trove, just because the dev team is, you know, actually there and very positive and passionate about the game. Who cares? Sayonara and stay epic, everybody.